Hey, welcome, Right for Canada. It's about Canada, but I want to tell you a story first about Texas. Recently, I was reading the book Lonesome Dove. That's got to be the best Western book and Western movie that there's ever been. And I'm a John Wayne fan too, but this Lonesome Dove thing, it was incredibly well done, and that was back in 1989. But the other day I was reading this in the book, struck me as so funny. Whenever I need a lift during a day, I read a couple of pages of it, and it's always, well, it breaks me up. So anyway, old Gus, he encountered Blue Duck, and he said to Woodrow, "It's my fault for not shooting him when he was drinking water. I didn't know who he was at the time, but I should have shot him on suspicion." I thought that was pretty good. And John Wayne, of course, I remember once when he said, "Let's give him a fair trial and then hang him." And that's what we should maybe do with some of our politicians, these guys. I got to tell you, we've given them too many chances. The Liberals now, in the most recent poll in Canada, and I get it, polls are for strippers and dogs, but in the most recent poll, it shows that this is like the end of July, or middle of July. Okay, I'll get it. At middle of July, 35% Liberals, 30% Conservatives, NDP 18, Green 9, Peoples 2, and so on. Firstly, I don't buy into any of that. It's all meant to kind of brainwash us, but it does work. A lot of people will look at that and that's their measure, right? And they swing that way. They won't even vote because they say it's already won. Particularly in the West, they say, well, Ontario is going to vote them in anyway, and according to the polls, what's the point? So polls aren't right. President Trump has proven that. I mean, Jason Kenney proved that. All kinds of people prove it all the time, but it still has an impact. And when you look at this poll, you realize that 70% of all Canadians have never voted, aren't voting now. It used to be 65%. 70% now, based on this poll, some repetition, are now voting Conservative. Okay, and it's always been 65. So you've dropped 5 points. So, wow. Mr. Scheer, I mean, the people listen to this nonsense. It ain't accurate stuff in my view, but they listen to it. Step down. Get another leader in so we can win. And it's not about being a conservative party, it's about being a right party versus the party that we have in Canada now. If the Liberals win, it's on you. I mean, this would be horrible. They're giving our country away. They say we have no identity. They say we have no culture. They say that we should be global. It's wrong. That's what they're doing. The only people that can save us is another prime minister, another party. And based on this and based how it's going to get into people's heads, we ain't going to win. We being somebody other than the Liberals. The Liberals need to not win. I'm hoping that. Whatever it is what it is, of course. But if you vote for Liberal, you don't like your country very much, right? And the Conservatives, they need to pull us out of that because they're second in the race. Some races show them as being tied and other things, but people buy into this stuff. There's 3 ways to leave the House of Commons. You know, when you're elected in Canada, you die, you get defeated, or you resign. And I'm not too sure which is the best, but there needs to be more than that. There needs to be term limits and a variety of other things. I'm jumping here. I know you can keep up. You're a Canadian, right, for Canada, and we're smart folk, and we got to get smarter in the election. Back to this topic in British Columbia, now they're saying that BC people consume more pot than anyone else. Well, they're the biggest pot user. Blah, blah, blah. Of course they are. I think the politicians smoke most of it because look at them. They're stoned. They act like they are at least because it's just wild. Socialism there is running wild. Governments make things easier for mass shooters and criminals. Gun control equals more murders and crime. That's a stat that is a fact. Let me repeat it, maybe more for me than you. Governments make things easier for mass shooters and criminals. Gun control equals more murders and crime. Good people don't do bad things. And the government in Canada, the Liberal government, they're always after gun people. There's 2.5 million gun people, licensed, legal gun people in Canada. And they're always after them, and people always think it's about guns. It's not about guns. Those people are all right-thinking people, right-wing thinking people, and the government beats them all of the time. If somebody murders somebody in Halifax, they go after the guy in Vancouver for his gun. They don't care about his gun. They beat him down because he's not on their side. And always remember what a Liberal's opinion stuff is about. You're entitled to your opinion as long as it is the same as mine. That's not nice. The definition of Canadian socialism is let's all be equal as long as I have more. That ain't nice either. Go through our website, Right for Canada. We got stuff there that'll help the nation and help us. See ya.